What I'm going to talk about today strikes me as perhaps one of the most important things that I perhaps should have mentioned earlier on. And this is to do with being realistic about when things don't go according to plan. So we've mentioned a few things in previous videos about sometimes the children don't want to do what you want, or they say no, or different things like that happen. We talked about taking a biscuit reset. But I wanted to tell you about something that happened to us only over the last few days, which happens to us quite regularly, because I don't want to give you the impression that in our house, home education always runs to plan and it's always perfect and every strategy that I've mentioned to you is 100% foolproof and always works. That's not true in our house, and it won't be true in your house either. So we've been starting to find our schedule a bit tedious. We've been quite a few weeks into this lockdown schedule now, and although most of what I'm asking the children to do is the same as what they usually do, there are a lot of extra things that we would normally do now a week that are missing. So we'd normally have activities to go out to, and we'd normally have meetups with other home educated children where we do things together. We'd normally have a much more varied curriculum and a much more varied way of spending our time than we've currently got. And so although they would normally do a bit of maths every day and a bit of literacy every day and all of that, now that everything's been reduced, these kind of daily tasks are starting to feel a bit, well, dull for them, and dull for me actually as well, to sit with them and do the same kinds of things day after day. And so a couple of weeks ago I thought what would be a nice thing to do would be if on Fridays we did something completely different, still learning, still literacy and maths woven into it, but something different, maybe a project-based thing or something a bit more interesting and exciting. We discussed it all together. The children were quite keen on trying that, and the first Friday we did it, it went quite well, but when we came to the second Friday, which was this last Friday, you wouldn't believe, so I spent a long time on the Thursday night planning out something and printing off some things and getting things ready for us to do. It had taken quite a bit of preparation, but then it came to the day of actually doing it, and they didn't really want to do it. I was getting a lot of resistance, a lot of no's, and although in the end they did sit down to do it, they complained throughout. It was as if I was torturing them. They would rather do their normal work. They don't want to do this boring other new thing. They didn't want to do everything about it. Was terrible for them. And at the end of it, I really thought, well, why did I bother with that? Why did I put the extra time in to plan something different and more interesting, I thought, and bring a bit of variety into our day, when all I was going to get was the most unbelievable levels of complaining and moaning throughout the entire time of doing it. And I would love to come and say that that doesn't happen, and I would love to come and say that I have an easy solution for that I will just fix it all, and the next time we do it, they'll be absolutely delighted. But I really don't have that. And the only thing I want to say to you about it is, if this is happening to you, if you're spending ages thinking up lovely things for your children to do and assembling new materials and laying it all out and it's all beautiful, and then really they don't want to do it, or they're complaining about it, or you're getting a huge amount of resistance to trying it, I want to say this to you, it's not personal. It feels really personal. It feels like the beautiful thing that you've spent ages getting ready that you thought they would really enjoy is being thrown back at you in a kind of quite personal way, and you can start to take that on board in quite a deep way, of feeling, well, why do I bother? No, they're not appreciating what I'm doing. All of these negative emotions come in, and it can be quite hard to manage, but it's not personal. The children are not throwing anything back in your face. They don't mean to do that. That's not what they've got in mind when they're reacting in the way that they're reacting. They're reacting from a completely different place than that. We've talked before about how anxiety can be a big factor. Sometimes it's a mistake to deviate from your usual routine, even though you may all be starting to find that routine a bit boring now. But we've learned this lesson lots of times, that although it's with the best intention in the world, sometimes trying to bring a bit of variety and interest into a routine doesn't work out too well. And it's not personal when the children react in a way that shows that they're not comfortable with this change. It's coming out of a different place, an emotional place in them that isn't really about us as the parents. And so I wanted to really reassure you, I've been home educating my children for years now, and we have spent a long time getting ourselves to a place where we can actually sit at the table and do some formal learning. You guys, if your children are usually in school but now they're at home with you, you've been thrown into this at the deep end. You maybe don't have all the resources and craft materials and stationery and all that, games and books and lovely resources to hand. You might be struggling to access that. You might not even be able to get out to the shops or get hold of those things in any way. You're making the best deal that you can out of what you've got, and sometimes it will work and sometimes it won't work, and sometimes your children will cooperate and want to do this thing with you, and sometimes they just won't. And if you can do yourself a huge favour and remind yourself that this is not a personal thing, that we're all operating out of a place of of change and uncertainty and anxiety, and that your children are in that place just as much as you perhaps are. And then take a deep breath and move on, because there's always tomorrow. It's not personal when your children don't want to do the lovely thing that you've prepared for them. It is upsetting and it is disappointing sometimes, but there's always tomorrow. So do try and keep your chin up. Do try and keep yourself realistic about what to expect. Don't be fooled into thinking that all the lovely posts that you might be seeing on social media, or even the things that I'm saying to you here, are always a true reflection of everything that goes on. I've given some ideas and some tips that have at least partially worked for us in the past, but none of those things work every day and under all circumstances. And sometimes you have whole days where it's just not going to work the way you wanted it to, where the things that you've planned are not going to go ahead the way that you wanted them to. And sometimes you just have to really put aside what your expectations were of that day and deal with the situation that's actually in front of you. So I don't know if that's helpful, but I wanted to reassure you, if you're struggling, that even those of us that have been doing this for a long time, we will also sometimes struggle, and every day doesn't go perfect, and every strategy that we've got doesn't always work. And if that's the situation you find yourself in, to go back to an earlier video, have a brew and a biscuit, restart again later on, maybe even the next day. There's always tomorrow.